This story had WTF written all over it.
Why would anyone, especially an American soldier, cross into North Korea?
A U.S. Army private, Travis King, bolts across the DMZ into North Korea. He's immediately arrested and held for months. For the longest time, no one knows what's going on or what's happening to him there. Then,
I do want to get to some breaking news that we have been covering this morning.
The American soldier who went absent without leave by running into North Korea, he is back in the U.S.
Sweden played a major role, we're told, by going into North Korea, bringing Private King across the border once North Korea agreed.
and it's like, what? So, let's go through what happened. A tumultuous year for Travis King. His escape from the U.S. Army into the hands of the North Koreans, and the fight to get him back.
That's not Travis. Travis would not just go over the border like that. He's the type of kid, he would have wanted to come home. You know, he knew just going across that border is basically just committing suicide.
So Travis King is a U.S. Army private, second class, 23 years old. Joins the military about 2 years ago. He's on a rotation in South Korea, but he gets into trouble.
King was supposed to be on a flight back to the U.S., where he was facing discharge from the Army after serving 47 days in a South Korean jail following an altercation with local citizens.
Okay, so there's a lot there. Let me break that down a little. According to South Korean media, last October, King is at a club in Seoul. Gets into a fight with someone, allegedly punches him in the face. He also cusses out the police who are arresting him. F Korean police, F Korean Army, F Koreans. This is basically all over the papers. He's fined 5 million won, which sounds like a lot, but it's about $5,000 Canadian, because he didn't just punch a guy. He also allegedly caused hundreds of dollars in damage to the patrol car he was in after repeatedly kicking the door. But this wasn't the only incident. The Messenger got a look at Army documents detailing an instance where King fails to report for duty. He's also gotten into other fights with locals too. And so, for months, he's confined to base by the U.S. Army in this weird sort of legal, disciplinary, and administrative limbo. Ultimately, for his crime, he goes to a South Korean prison for 47 days. Then, his troubles really start.
After we hear about this fight and him going to jail, the messages became strange. I was like, you okay? And he's telling me, no, they're trying to kill me. And he was saying things like, said they're racist. I don't know, it made me seem like something was going on with him. Like he was fearing for his life.
The family of Travis King is at a bit of a loss. He's not himself, and they can't explain why. But at least he's coming back home. A week after he's released from prison, he's escorted by the U.S. military to Incheon International Airport, set to board a civilian flight back to Texas. He's in trouble with the Army and will face the music. But his escorts only get as far as customs. King has to go the rest of the way to the departure gate on his own. But he doesn't board the flight. He leaves the airport, disappears. Then, within the next 24 hours, makes his way to Panmunjom. That's a small village on the border with North Korea, about 70 kilometers away. He has somehow managed to join a civilian tourist group right in the middle of the joint security area of the demilitarized zone.
King, pictured here dressed in black, moments before officials say he bolted across the border on purpose.
He was reportedly apprehended by guards, forced into a van, and then driven off deeper into North Korean territory. Tourists who saw it all happen were dumbfounded. I assumed initially he had a mate filming him in some kind of really stupid prank or stunt, like a TikTok, the most stupid thing you could do. It was definitely dangerous. This was the moment a rogue American soldier going AWOL exploded into a full-fledged international incident with a nuclear unfriendly state.
I can't function. I can't think straight. It feels like I'm in a big nightmare. Once nighttime comes, I start worrying more because I don't know what they're doing to him.
Now look, the next 2 months are murky. We don't know what King's time in North Korean detention would have been like. You know, they didn't even admit they had him at all until the following month. But behind the scenes, an intense effort to have him freed. Sweden got involved, since the Americans and North Koreans don't exactly talk to each other. Then, the breakthrough this week.
We have news now out of North Korea. The rogue nation has decided to expel the 23-year-old soldier, Travis King.
Some suggesting that because he was a low-ranking military official, he may not have been seen as of great value to the North Koreans. North Korea being very adamant that this was an expulsion. The State Department is saying that this was an intense diplomatic effort.
And just like that, King was released.
Right now, he is in U.S. officials' hands in China, and then making his way back to the United States.
The very next day, he was escorted into China, greeted by the American ambassador there. He hopped on a medical plane to Shenyang. From there, he was moved to a U.S. Air Force base in South Korea and ultimately put on a flight back to San Antonio, Texas. A direct flight this time, base to base, straight to Kelly Field.
Breaking news, the American soldier who went absent without leave by running into North Korea, he is back in the U.S.
Like 3-something in the morning, I got a call from him. And I was half asleep, and he just called and he just screamed, "I'm not the Army soldier you want me to be. I'm not the Army soldier you want me to be."
It will take some time for us to learn what drove Travis King to act out, to go AWOL, and flee to North Korea, of all places. That country's state-run news agency reported he was delusioned about inhumane treatment and racial discrimination in the Army, and about the inequality existing within the American society. Now, we have no way of verifying whether that's true, but he will almost certainly face some level of punishment. Criminal charges, a court-martial, dishonorable discharge, we don't know. But it's worth remembering, for a little over 2 months, while in North Korean custody, King's fate may have looked far worse than any of that.
Otto Warmbier was just 22 years old when he suddenly arrived from North Korea in a coma.
When another young American was imprisoned in North Korea for attempting to steal a sign at a hotel.
I have made the worst mistake of my life.
He was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. Shortly after his trial, he slipped into a coma. Doctors say he somehow suffered a traumatic brain injury. For his error in judgment, he paid with his life.